Now, I'm not a great expert when it comes to money, but I think we're in a very dodgy situation at the moment. We've got the threat of what we consider to be money about to be whipped away from us, and something else, a little mysterious and somewhat nefarious, about to be replaced with it. And I'm talking about these central bank digital currencies. And if you don't know what that is, we'll get into a little bit of that. I'm not an expert on any of this. So I'm just somebody who's somewhat concerned about what is about to happen, and I'm questioning all of those things. Now, as I understand money and how it's created these days, is that it is created in a magical way. So as I understand it, and people please correct me if I'm wrong, because I make so many mistakes on this, it's not true. But as I understand it, money is created by people going to a bank and borrowing it. That's one of the ways. I'm sure there are other ways. In the old days, you actually had something like, silver and gold, and you could trade with that, and you had something solid. But these days, that is not really there anymore. So you go to the bank and you say, I'd like to borrow £20,000 or £100,000 for a mortgage, and here's the property, and they have a look at it. Oh, yes, okay, we can lend you the money. And so the bank manager says, not that you actually get to see a bank manager, it's all on the computer, but the computerized bank manager, which I suspect will be AI bank manager in some point. So you will see some sort of, hello there, welcome to the bank. I will more than happily help you. One moment, let me check your credit rating before you. Anyway, listen, we won't get into that now. The point being is your virtual bank manager will nip into the back of the thing and say, here, there's a bloke out there wants to borrow £100,000 for a mortgage. Once they've all had a good laugh and fallen about themselves and all of that, they'll say, how much money have we got in the back? And they'll open up the safe and go, oh, yes, of course, there's nothing in it. So don't worry, we'll lend him the money and we'll put some interest on it that he's got to pay back. So the virtual bank manager comes back and says, oh, hello, mister, whatever your name is. Yes, of course, we'll lend you the money according to your credit rating, etc., etc. We'll give you the money, no problem at all. How much would you like? 100,000? OK, we'll put that into your account. Now, they don't give you the money. That would be awkward because they've just been in and had a look at the safe and it's completely empty. There might be a few notes hanging about, but there's not £100,000 that they can just actually shove into a suitcase and say, here, mind how you go, and don't advertise it because someone might cosh you over the top of the head. No. They say, we'll transfer it into your account. And so you go, oh, great, thanks very much, because that's so convenient for you. Isn't that convenient? They shove it into your account. So what they do is the master geek goes in the back with his special big bottle top glasses. He's sitting there going, how much is it, Bray? £100,000. Right, okay, I'll just shove in a few noughts on the computer. So on their account, up comes the next thing. Ka-ching. Oh, look. Honey, we've got £100,000 for that dream cottage with the roses round the door. Marvellous. Only we do have to pay it back, and these are the terms and conditions, and they go on for hours and hours and hours, and quite penal, of course, and actually you end up paying £500,000 back instead of that £100,000. Now, so the bank has just put noughts onto the person's account, and he's very happy, and he's gone off and he's gone to the estate agent, and the estate agent said, oh, how lovely that is. We'll sell you this house. It goes through the solicitors who do all the machinations. And then the seller of the house, of course, who's got the dream cottage house, is going, yes, £100,000, please. Thanks very much. And they do the transaction. And from the bank of the first person, the borrower's bank, that money, the money that's been basically made out of nowhere, just with noughts and things, is transferred to the bank with the person who's selling the house, and he looks into his bank account and can see that there is a one and several noughts after it, and he's very happy. And actually, there we are. The bloke who bought the house has got the house, but with obviously the condition of paying back some more of this money that goes into the account. The person who sold the house is very happy. He can now go and buy another house or do whatever he damn well likes. He's no longer in the story, and we don't care much about him. So the bank then has magically made some money. This guy who borrowed the money has gone to the house, has bought a house, and he's bought something physical with something which didn't exist. which seems very strange. But he's now obligated, because he's signed a contract on the borrowing of the money called a mortgage, that he's got to now pay back the bank. So he then each month goes, oh, blimey, look at this. I've got to pay about £1,000 a month. Oh, I'm never going to do it. Plus the interest, which could fluctuate, or depending on his contract, it could stay still or it could go up or go down, you know. So he goes, oh dear, look, this month it's 1,000 plus another £100. And then the next month, oh, look at that, it's £120. Oh, blimey, it's got up to £150. Oh, this money I borrowed a few years ago now keeps costing me, now it's at 1,000 plus the 250 because the interest rate's flopping about. I wonder who's adjusting the interest rate. But anyway, that interest is being paid to the guys in the bank who are sitting going, oh, look at this money coming in. Of course, it's not actual physical anything. It's just more numbers on their computer. But that doesn't matter, because if they started off with £1 million in their bank, now whatever this bloke has been borrowing is adding to what's on their computer that tells them now they're over £1 million by however much all these different people have been paying them, and their bank worth has gone up. As I say, I may have got this slightly wrong, and you can correct me if it's not right. But essentially, the bankers seem to have created some form of money, something, I don't know whether we can really call it money, but they've created something that this bloke can buy a house with, and the bloke who sold the house can go off and buy something else with, and so it goes on. Which is curious, because it's not real, is it? Because the actual bank, in his safe, he's only got a few notes. But if this bloke who's bought the house goes, oh, crikey, I need to borrow some more money because I want to buy something else. And he goes to the bank and says, look, my credit rating is good because I keep paying you all this money with the interest. I'd actually like to take out all these savings. Maybe he's had inheritance. Let's say he's had some inheritance. His great uncle Bulgaria snuffed it and left him a ton of money to pay off the house and a whole load more. So he goes to the bank and he says, here, I've got all this money, and he shoves it in. The next day he says, actually, I'd like cash out, actually, because I'm a bit worried about all these ones and noughts. Could I just have it in cash? Because we're all used to having these notes that we go and buy trinkets with. And the bank goes, just a minute. Have we got £100,000 or whatever the amount, a huge amount he wants? And they go, no, we haven't. We can't give it to him. What do you mean we can't give it to him? Well, he wants it. He's demanding it in cash. Well, we can't give it in cash. But why don't you use your card, sir? Why don't you use your card? Because all the time he uses his card, he can use the ones and zeros that's on the computer at the bank. But when he actually wants the hard cash, that becomes a problem, because they don't actually have enough of it. They have nothing. Really, the banks at the end of the day really have nothing. It's all one big illusion. Now, here we are in this dreadful situation where we have the digital bank central currency, and what this wants to do is to say, whilst you still have the banks still have that illusion, we're going to have a central bank, which effectively they sort of have a central bank which is creating a lot of this illusion. But this time, this central bank will know exactly what you're doing with your money as you do it. So in the past, you might use your little card and you go somewhere and you buy, I don't know, a packet of potatoes. It might be a bag of potatoes. A packet of potatoes might be a bit different. Anyway, you buy a bag of potatoes and you use your magic card, and it goes in, takes a transaction, and it's recorded that you've bought those things on some sort of computer. And then you might go somewhere else, and millions of people are doing exactly the same. Now, they don't know the central bank, who's somewhere else, doesn't know at the time of the purchase that you have bought a bag of potatoes. All they know is you bought something and it's registered on a thing. And then at the end of the day, as I understand it, it goes to this central computer, and all these transactions go ding, and your bank's credited or deficited at the end of the day. So at the moment of purchase, you can, as long as you've got the money in the bank, or your credit rating is correct, or you've got enough funds and all of that, you can buy it. But with the central bank digital currency, now they would be able to go, this is the AI character again, you know, the virtual reality thing. You want to buy a bag of potatoes? Not sure about that, because you said something on social media. You criticised somebody in authority. You said something nasty, or you've been driving your car a bit too much. You want to buy some petrol? Oh, no, no, no. So there you go with your central bank digital currency on your card, and you go, oh, it's not accepting it. That's a shame. What can I do? You can't. You're stuck because somebody else now with the central bank digital currency is knowing exactly at the time with the programmable money how you can, whether you can buy something or not. And that becomes a huge problem. Oh golly, what will I do? I'll have to starve this week. Or you can't pay your bills. Or they're saying, well, actually, you've got this money, but for reasons that we're not going to tell you, you've got to spend it by the end of the week or we'll get rid of it. Now, this is the worry, this is the fear, and this is the ability that they have. Whether they do that or not, we don't really know because we haven't got it. But once everything's been transferred to an authority who could potentially look at our carbon credit or our social credit and make judgments about us, then all of that is potentially possible and could be quite penal. So it seems to me that this is a rather nasty scheme that's about to come in. It's bad enough as it is in a way, enabling a bunch of hooligans who can sit there and say, oh yeah, we'll lend you some money and we'll ask you for some money back in order to loo for it. And they're making money from nothing. They're giving you nothing, and yet they're making more of nothing back but actually somehow that translates into some sort of money that they can buy more things than you can. So that seems a very unfair system as well. So what do we do? Well, I think that all of that is the kind of, even though it's on the street and we see it on the high street, I think all of that is the black market of money. That is the nefarious way that money is created. Now, if we go to central bank digital currency, you may think, but we've got no choice, Richard. We have to do it. What are we going to do? Well, we could just create our own money. Now, there may be laws passed saying, oh, you can't create your own money, you can't barter, you can't do this, you have to use our central bank digital currency, we want to know every damn bloody thing that you do. You might say, well, okay, we'll have something like these cryptocurrencies. That'll get rid of them, won't it? But will it? The problem I see with something like Bitcoin is that there seem to be a number of these Bitcoins out there, not just Bitcoin itself, like that's it, that's the thing, that would be easy. But no, there's something Bitcoin BTC, not sure what that is. Then there's Bitcoin BSV, not sure what that is. And I've since learnt there are sort of like platinum, gold and various other versions of it. So you go, is it all the same? Does it matter? Will it crash? Is it real? Well, of course, the trouble with Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies, to me, in my humble opinion, is again, they're all ethereal. They don't really exist. It's just a sort of idea that it's just digital numbers again. Now, if, as we know, the government wants us all to have digital IDs. Oh, very convenient. We can all go online and present our details and we can log in and find out the status of our health or our medical records, or we can pay our inland revenue thing or our taxes for the council tax, or all these things, these different government departments that we've allowed ourselves to be governed by. By having a digital currency and a digital ID, we can easily log on to all these. We don't have to go and get our passport or our driving licence or our old age pensioner's card or, you know, the square root of -5 and do any mathematical calculations to prove who we are and all that sort of stuff, or give bits of DNA, any of that. We don't have to do that. We just have this one number that's allocated to us and anybody can find out who we are at any one time. Great. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Except that once you've got this digital ID that tells you that you are no longer a living man or woman, that you are actually just a digital identity as far as the government is concerned, which would be very convenient for them, less convenient for you than you actually think, then you may find that actually what will be legislated is that in order to get onto the internet, purely for safety purposes, of course you understand, because all that terrible, nasty stuff that's being given to children, and this would be such an easy way as to make sure that stuff for the wrong people can't get over to you in the internet, that you put in your digital ID, you see, your number, a bit like a national insurance number, you shove it in. Now, where that becomes a problem is if the government decide, oh, actually, we don't want you to access anything on the internet, including your internet route to Bitcoin or your cryptocurrency or even your central bank digital currency or wherever, or just any of the sites that you like to watch of an evening late at night when there's nobody about with a box of tissues, that sort of thing, you won't be able to do it because the government will have your digital ID and will be able to just stop you. And if you're using a different currency than what they want, they may be able to say, well, we'll just stop him from accessing the internet. In which case, if it's all going to have this umbrella of digital ID over the top, it makes the Bitcoin and all of those things completely useless. So then you're stymied. So what do we do? It seems to me that this digital world has some wonderful advantages. I can sit here and pontificate to you very quickly, record it on my camera, nip upstairs, edit it up, bung it on the internet, and you can sit here and watch some bald bloke talking a load of old rubbish. And then you have to work out, is there any truth in what he's saying? Maybe he's made some mistakes and maybe he hasn't. But whatever, hopefully he's amused you. However, the flip side of this digital thing is that it's very controllable for people who have nefarious ideas. And there seems to be, at the moment, a whole load of people who've got nefarious ideas of how to control us and what they want to do with us and all that kind of malarkey. And so it makes it very easy for them to control us. And it's not very nice. And there seems to be a lot of those in government and in think tanks across the world who want to sort of do nasty things to us. And most of us actually are probably asleep about that and have no idea that that's going on, which is why I'm sitting here waffling away to you, trying to make some sort of headway and getting through to those people who have yet to find out that these things aren't as good or as convenient or as beneficial as you might think. So what do? It seems to me the best thing that we've done is to go back to the old ways, go down to the seashore, find a number of unusual and very rare type of shells, or some sort of base metal like, I don't know, gold or silver, or it could be buttons, but something real, something in the real world, something material, physical. We need to go back, I think, to some basic money system that's based on a real thing that you carry around with you. Now, you might think, oh, God, that's like going back into the Stone Age. But let's face it, if you have a piece of paper that, say, has a silver strip through it, and that silver strip is that you can actually extract out of that silver paper. So that bit of that paper, the silver strip out of the paper, that bit of silver is actually worth something, that it's laced into a note. Then you're carrying around something that's actually got some worth. Or if you've got a coin, let's say, made of silver or gold or bronze, it has some worth. It has some physical worth that you could melt it down and do something with it. It has to be rare, of course, and it has to be that you can't just, anybody can go and print tons of them, because it's got to have something in it. You've got to have this thing. It can't be fake. It's got to be real. It's got to be rare. Like, you know, if you found a whole, I don't know, millions, a big million, 1 million, let's say, of very rare shells on the seashore, only found in one place, these shells. And once you gathered them all up and there were no more, and you had 1 million of those and you started to circulate these, that became your transaction money, because that's all it is. It's just all the money really is a compensation method for buying something or having a service or a product. And that's all it is. But at least it's real, so that when you go to the bank, say, I'd like to borrow 100,000 seashells, please. The bank manager there will go, OK, let's have a look in the thing. We haven't got 100,000 actually, because we're not a very good bank. We can give you 999,000. How about that? Oh, well, I'll take that then. That's all. But what we would like back is 10 or 100 seashells every month to pay for it. So that when they accrue their money, they're accruing their money and their interest, I suppose, better. They're lending you the money and there's actually real money there. So that should everybody who wants to have their money back have no reason where they couldn't go back to the bank and they say, look, we've given you all this money, we want it back. So that banks could not exist without actual money there. Now, I know that means that people can be buying balaclavas a lot and sawn off shotguns and coming in and saying, oi, hand it all over. But we can have security and things that will work that out. But to go back, to me, it seems if this central bank digital currency comes in, we need something really solid that people can be reassured with, not something that is penal and against us and can judge us. If you've got seashells, buttons or gold or silver, whatever the commodity is, nobody can judge you, and when you buy something, it's private. It's between you and the purchaser or the seller, whatever it is. You're buying something from a seller, whether it's a service or a product. Nobody else need know about it. Nobody at all. It's what you do in private. It's about having an existence. It's about doing things with people and trusting people. very difficult in this situation with a central bank digital currency, with digital IDs, where all of this is going to be known by a higher authority who may or may not want to penalise you for whatever it is you said somewhere on social media, or have been overheard in a pub, or that you just want to travel around the country and have an interesting life. These systems seem to be against us going back to something solid in your hand, whatever it is, and I don't know the answer, I don't know how we do that, but that seems to be what we, the people, ought to be demanding. You may completely disagree, you may want to be scored and looked after by a central authority. Personally, I want to take back that responsibility and have something that is of some worth in my hand and feel that I can go forward and buy things privately. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you happen to see, by any strange quirk of the imagination, people talking about cryptocurrency and you see that there's one post and then there's about 300 other posts that seem to just magically be there, be careful of those because they're usually spam. And if you see me asking you to Telegram me or WhatsApp me or phone me on a special number, just ignore that. That also is a spam. We get a lot of that, we YouTubers. So sorry about that. Put your comments in there. I'll see you next time.